step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom, I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with, giving my blood so I am relentless.
All right, this is a Keep Hammering Collective. I'm with Branlin Shockey and Caleb Marshmallow. Or no, what is it?
That's good. That's a common one.
What is it?
It's Marmolejo.
Marmolejo.
Yeah.
I know, I can see it.
Yeah.
I've never tried to say it until right now.
Yeah, you get about halfway through and just like,
Marmolejo.
Yeah.
So I'll just do a little intro. Branlin, people know, Once We Were Wolves, famous director, producer, Eva Shockey's brother.
There you go. Yeah, that's how most people know me. Yeah.
And then Caleb takes, I mean, are you mostly still? You do video too, though, but mostly still?
I love still photography.
Why?
I grew up reading surf magazines. Like in high school, I wasn't like an outstanding student. I wasn't a terrible student, but like I would just bring surf magazines to class. And I came from the action sports world, which photography's, I mean, like Huberman's guy.
Yeah.
Playback. He's,
yeah.
I mean, I was probably 13 years old staring at his pictures.
Really? Him?
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Like,
so he's a legend.
Legend.
Really?
And his style still stands today. Like, people are still trying to emulate him now.
Like, what would it be? Like, what does he do that or you can tell us his work?
He has a flash photography style. Like, so imagine there's like a big staircase, and he would set up like multiple flashes and freeze the skater over the stairs. And his black and white portraits are just, you can recognize it from a mile away. Like, really cool. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I fell in love with photo. And
imagine what I could do with filters on his photos. Like my filters.
Oh yeah, you could double bake his photos. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely where I fell in love with it, was like in the action sports world, and then you know, I discovered the outdoors later in life, and now I'm realizing that I think that craft needs to be brought back to hunting more. You know, I think there's a lot of people doing it, but not necessarily telling stories with it. So. And yeah, I can't even imagine how many things you've read, like in magazines, with photos that you were inspired by.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of good photography for sure. I mean, that was one thing me and Roy, almost from the day one, we were never good, but we always made an effort to have cameras there and just get photos. And so we always, you know, couldn't wait to get down and get the film developed, 1 hour photos, that whole thing, double prints. Let's do it all. Oh, 4x6 glossy. You know, if you had extra money.
Gloss. Yeah. Okay.
So no, that's why I'm so, I love your work so much, because it is so powerful. Your photos are, I don't know, I guess I haven't, if there's a style of yours that I'm like, I could just look at a photo and be like, oh, that has to be Caleb's. I don't know if I've that dialed in on it, but what you do is the work you do, and then the stories, like when you do posts and you do the captions with it, so well written, so just well presented. It's just, yeah, you are, you know, you talked about Huberman's guy as far as having a legacy or making a name. You're doing the same thing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're kicking ass,
especially coming from you. Nobody would know me if it wasn't for him.
Yes,
no, that's not true.
So tell me, like, you guys have been here. Why were you here? What were we doing? What was it?
We were filming with you. Right?
I know. Why? Oh, it was like,
you had some dream you wanted to sort of starting a podcast or something.
Yeah. So why are you guys like the dream team for content? Why do you gravitate towards Caleb? Why have you guys worked together? And then how's it been, and just how'd it happen?
Yeah. Well, quickly, you're talking about the style that Caleb has, and how when you see something Caleb shoots, you're immediately like, there's something, and I can't really define it either, but there's something there where, and I wouldn't normally say this in front of him, but like when you see a photo that he's taken, to me, it's like, it screams authenticity. Like, oh, that's actually a real photo. That's not something that's been, you know, dreamed up in the boardroom somewhere and then been drawn up on a computer. You get the sense that that's that's a person that actually does what he's kind of, you know, doing in the photo, and it's very authentic. And I like that style a lot. And like you, I grew up in a world where, especially in the hunting industry, there's a tendency to, you don't always portray the exact things that maybe are, you portray yourself differently sometimes than what is the reality. And I always thought that what Caleb did was very refreshing, particularly a lot of the people that he focuses on and the things that he shoots are just, it's not because they have a bajillion followers or because they've got a big TV show or everybody knows about them. It's because they're real, and they, what's that guy? You always tell me about this guy that like basically he's like a killer elk hunter, but he's out there with like his sandals and like smoking Marlboros and just like.
You might know Cody Cole.
Yeah.
So
is he from Southern Oregon?
Eastern Oregon.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm going up there next week to tell his story.
Oh, okay.
And like, he's calling me off a landline, like, and those are the stories that get me stoked.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
yeah. Well, I think what you're kind of mentioning is back in the day, it'd be like, you could just tell like, oh, we need a pack out photo, like have these antlers and some old bleached out skull, obviously from years ago. Or then it's like, well, if you got really tricky, you could get some like a game bag and put some ketchup or shit on it to make it look like blood. But it's like so fake, still so fake. I mean, there's some people who do a really good job of it. Lee Jose does a really good job.
Yeah, Jose guys are great.
Of making it look authentic. It's not authentic.
Right.
But it looks pretty good. Then there's some terrible work that doesn't even look close to good. But then there's like what I think you're talking about or referencing is like from a real hunt.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal, right? Like,
yeah.
And to kind of like paint the picture, like I'm not some like purist where like I don't do it perfect, but I definitely want to do it right. And I think a lot of the times, when you're working like for a client, like you're under pressure. And so like you might have to do some of that. Like, so I understand and try not assume the worst, but sometimes you see something that's hard to swallow or you're just like, ugh.
Well, in an agency or boardroom, as you mentioned, I don't even know if they know what fucking authentic meat is, really. I mean, they have this vision and they have this objective or the storyboard type thing, and they just want to hit that. And it's just like, then we look at it and we're like, it's not real. What are you talking about? That's not.
And unfortunately for me, like a lot of that stuff, it works.
Yeah.
Right. Like marketing at like that boardroom level in New York, it works.
Works, but what define works?
Well, because you're shifting like a little lever here and like a million people, you're changing their habits and their ideas and the posters they put on their wall and what they aspire to.
Right.
It's powerful and it's unfortunate.
Yeah. I guess it does work in that metric. But
but there's no soul to it, to me.
It's not art. It's an objective. They made this ad that made people look at this product.
Correct.
That's not art.
Right.
I like the art part of it.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you have both? Yeah, I mean, if you do it right, but that's really hard. So to get somebody in a boardroom or an agency or a marketing guy to be like, yeah, we could do that, but how about this? And then this would be, authentic is like this, whatever people like to say authentic now. Because now it's an option to be fake, so we celebrate authentic.
Right.
But we're all leaning or want or whatever. I've done all the fake photo shoots too. I've done them all. I know. And yeah, it's just so much better when it's real.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes any difference on what, like somebody who wasn't there when they're looking at it, but I feel like it does.
I mean, my hope, and this is actually the other day, this is something that scares me a bit, but also I'm kind of like hopeful about it. I went into the AI programs, right? And just for fun, I fed the AI stuff on Caleb's photos. And I said, AI, make me a photo that looks kind of like this, as if Caleb shot it kind of thing. And a couple seconds later, a photo came up. It's pretty damn good, pretty close. And I sent it to Caleb and I forget what you said, but you sent it to the model you shot with, and he was like, shit, that's a cool photo. And that scares me in some ways because that isn't real, right? But can be passed off as real. And I wonder, if that's going to be like the new sort of we're already there, but like the frontier with photos and video and everything, where is there going to be a value placed on something that is real compared to what isn't real? And how are you going to value that if people can't tell the difference? Like, even if I'm willing to say, yeah, I'm going to value an authentic photo or a video or a story over something that isn't authentic, how are you going to know?
Yeah. I think it's going to put more pressure on actually doing the thing. So you can't simulate it. I mean, it's hard to simulate breaking down an animal. I mean, I don't know if AI can do that to make it that real.
Yeah, I always err on the side of like, they'll never be able to actually do it because they can't feel the emotion or what it feels like to be there. But Branlin, he always sees things bigger, and he's thinking, yeah, but what if it does?
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
I don't know if I see things bigger at all, but I remember a conversation. This is real. I had with my dad years ago, and because we're driving in a truck somewhere and for some hunting camp thing, and we're talking, as we don't often do, about artificial intelligence, and we're talking about like, will it ever replace what we're able to do as humans, and the creative part of that, right? And we kind of came to the conclusion, AI is going to come up with some great stuff, and it's probably going to come up with the next pop tune, but it's never going to do. It's never going to come up with Bohemian Rhapsody, if you're familiar with that Queen song, because that's such. You listen to it, and you're like, yeah, where did that come from? And
right.
I mean, that's so creative and artistic and way out there. And obviously that's a pop culture example. You can say like Van Gogh, Starry Night, or you can use all the outlier examples of artistic work that's been done by humans. And I thought at the time, I said, Dad, that's never going to happen. And he agreed. And therefore, part of my, my far-reaching kind of look at like what I wanted to do was like, let's live in that space. Let's live in the creative space where like that's not going to be touched by the people in the boardrooms or the AI stuff coming. And I no longer think that. I think that if you type in the right stuff, it's going to come up with Bohemian Rhapsody, and that I don't know if that's a problem. It's just reality. It's just the way it is. But I think that's coming. I don't think that's far off. So to me, again, I look back at like, you're right. There should be value in doing the thing and breaking down the animal. But if you're talking about just the actual like the video of that, or the if that's your proof, I don't know if that's good enough anymore. Way back, when I'm not 100% sure if I'm writing this, but what's the magazine with the border around? Is it Life? I can't remember.
Time magazine.
Okay, so, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think part of the reason why that magazine was started was the thought behind it was that there is a lot of information. There's news out there. There's false news, even back then, right? Because people were isolated. They're not as connected as we are now. And whoever started it said, hey, let's provide something that someone picks up, and we can separate the chaff from the weed or whatever. So we can when someone picks up that magazine with the border around it, they know this is real and this is something I can trust. My question, I guess, going forward is, if we can't tell the difference between what an AI is making and what someone like Caleb makes or you make, how do people where are people going to turn to find that stuff and know that it's real? They're not being lied to, and I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah,
it's a crazy thought.
Yeah, that is. It's I don't know if it's going to put pressure on more authentic experience, and I don't know if it puts. If it makes film more valuable, because that's like a real experience, because a photo captures that moment in time. So it's not necessarily the experience. It doesn't have to be. It could just be you simulated this experience and captured that. But is that going to make video and true authentic experience more valuable? I don't know, because it's not saying it can't be replicated, but it seems like it's harder to replicate that much activity or pixels or whatever the hell you're talking about.
Right.
Whereas photos, those seem like low-hanging fruit right now.
Yeah, if I was a photographer, I'd be really weird.
No, I think, I mean, you're into music and film, and they're already tapping into those worlds. Like,
yeah, the film stuff coming out is crazy.
Yeah.
Like if we're on Joe's podcast, this would be the time where we'd like pull up some video and we'd be like, yeah, that was not real. That's not a real film.
Does it look, too perfect. The stuff I've seen
Yeah.
looks too perfect, but maybe that's just an early maybe it's going to get better.
Well, you look at what it was a year ago compared to what it is now, and you look at the exponential rise of what's going on and what's driving that. And I mean, it's coming for sure.
So how do you protect your own interests then? Like what can you offer that's going to offset that ease of like, hey, we need this photo, punch it in, here you go. We don't have to pay anybody. We don't have to work with this creative, whatever. So what do you guys offer that's going to hold that at bay?
I think I'd start by saying, like, if you're going to be a storyteller or a creative, you're going to live your whole life in risk. Like whether that's financially or being behind you while you're shooting a bear. Like, I think you get really comfortable with risk. And I think the thing that we have in common is the stories we like to tell are pretty emotional or vulnerable, or I hate that word authentic, but sometimes it's fitting, you know? So I like to think, at least my answer, and yours might be different, is because that's what we find common ground on. Like, I can't see it doing that interview that we just did. Yeah. So that's kind of where I live at with it. I don't spend too much time thinking about it. Just go to work.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. Right. You can't, how somebody's impacted and like what you see in their eyes or their face when they're going back into a moment and either experiencing something for the first time or going back on a memory. How would you ever, it doesn't seem like you could simulate that because humans were so unpredictable and so unique. I'm hoping that emotion that is pretty sacred, and I don't see how that can be replicated, but I don't know.
I think I think a couple things. First of all, I think that if you're a creative with a camera right now and you shoot product stuff, like,
you're fucked.
Yeah, I think you're fucked. Yes, I think that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, there's stories, and I don't want to cut you off, but I heard a story about a fellow photographer that was pitching with a client, and he used AI in the pitch to show them what the shoot will look like. And they said, "Oh, we'll just use these. These are great."
Yeah. Well, and the other side of it, I guess, obviously from our perspective, like this is kind of scary. But from the other side, if I'm starting a business and I'm trying to create some widgets and I don't have 10 grand to pay some crazy photographer, here you go. My stuff looks like a Nike campaign now, and I can compete. So that's great. But like fundamentally for me, when I think of storytelling, and that's when we're talking about video and photography, those are mediums, right? Or talking about sitting around a fire, but really it's all story based, right? And to me, the best stories, or what I try and think of when I'm creating something, is, will this move people? Will this resonate with people in a way that shifts their thinking somehow? And I guess emotionally probably is how you normally do that, right? People feel an emotion, and that shifts the way they look at something.
Right.
Again, going back to the Bohemian Rhapsody thing, I think that AI is going to be able to replicate a lot of the technique for doing that. And that can be, I can create emotion right now by showing you a video of an elephant dying, a baby elephant that just came out of the womb and now it's dead. That's, AI can do that, and you're not gonna be able to tell the difference. I hope that, like what happened with that magazine, that there's going to be a way for people to know that isn't real. And I hope that they put a value on something being real and the people being real. And so interviews like what we just did, those are real. And maybe AI will be able to, like, if I type in, hey, like, or, in a few years, Elon has a way for a brain to talk to it, just like, and say, hey, like, I envision this. It just comes up with you talking about your childhood and issues you have with your dad. Maybe it can replicate that, but I would be looking for, and I think it's a little early, but somewhere to create content with the hope that people are going to go there and say, hey, like, I want real stuff. I want to hear a story around the campfire, so to speak, made by real people. Because otherwise you're being manipulated. Yeah. And,
I hope it puts pressure on making real, like putting more value on that, because it is so good. They're like, people are going to be like, well, it's good, but it's not real. You know, and it's almost, and it's crazy how fast this went, because you could watch a movie even now and you see these scenes and you're like, ah, fucking CGI sucks. You can tell.
Right.
You can tell, like an animal. I don't even know what it's like. It's supposed to be a bear, but it's sort of like a bear wolf type. What is this? What is going on?
Yeah.
So to go from that, which is now, to what AI is already, to where you watch it and you're just like, because that looks real. I can't. So it's crazy how fast it's evolved already.
Yeah, and one other thing I'll say is, I use like the product example, but also like big car commercials. You know, when you show the car like doing drifting in the sand dunes and stuff and going on the crazy highways, those are dead. In my opinion, those are gone.
Yeah.
Those are $4 million shoots.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to do them for $500.
Right.
And so I'd be scared if I was doing that too. But like fundamentally true art, right? We're not talking about true art here. Like we're talking about using creative people to, again, move people emotionally.
Yeah.
Or like a car commercial, like make something look really cool and shiny and different and catch your attention. But like what Caleb said, like a true artist, you know, much like maybe a quote unquote true hunter or outdoorsman or ultramarathon runner, you're going to do that stuff whether or not people are paying you or watching you.
Right.
And that's, you know, I like the idea of being a creative, and I'm very grateful to be able to be in a creative space and provide for the family. But, you know, I think we need to look at the potential of one day, you know, I'm gonna have to look in the mirror and say, do I want to be a creative just to do it and just for the art and make stuff in the dark that nobody's going to see or care about? You know, and that's a scary thought to me.
Yeah, I think it's going to make, like, if I think of filming an ultra, as we were talking about earlier and you just mentioned, but like the big scenes of the runner running down a trail, to me, that's going to be less valuable than showing blisters on your toes, blood going down from your knee, a raw spot where your pack is rubbed on your back.
Right.
You're gonna have to get that shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's the real stuff. Whereas it's been a little lazy as far as filmmaking goes, because you could just like, oh, get that scene good enough. Now it's just like, no, I mean, it's okay. It establishes whatever the setting, but we need nitty gritty. We need the real details now, which we always wanted to get that, because that's like where you'd watch a film and you're like, man, they really went all out on that one. But now it's just like, if you're not doing that, you're fucking gone.
Yeah.
So you better be going all out, getting that little stuff. Yeah, you can throw in the big stuff too, because that does set the mood. But I think it's going to put more pressure, and I think it's going to make people like you guys who are talented, who have that perspective, to where like, no, I know what real is and looks like and feels like and smells like and tastes like and looks on camera. That's what we got to have.
Yeah.
And so you guys could separate yourselves, you know, instead of people saying like, oh, this is the end, we're in creative. It could be like, maybe it's going to, for the legit guys who have this authentic vision, it's going to open more doors. I don't know.
I really wish you were a creative so I could hear the Cam Hanes response to AI.
Yeah.
I know exactly what he would say.
Yeah. What?
Nobody cares. Work harder.
Yeah. I mean,
100%.
That's it. It's just, I just think that, yeah, there are some challenges, there are some changes for sure, but.
Well, and also like maybe I like that vision, Cam. Obviously from our perspective, like, yeah, hell yeah. Like that's what I want to happen. I hope it does. And I think it will. But also, like, funnily enough, when you pointed out like the big vistas and the high end like CGI and stuff, like, was that stuff ever really important? You know, like, is that really? Is it cool because it looks cool and it's unique and novel to be, you know, I don't know, seeing some giant vista of the mountains or like on Mars or something? Is it cool just for that reason, or is it cool because, or like I guess what I'm saying is like, should it have always been about the grittier stuff, the realer stuff, the human interest stuff? I don't know.
It should have always been, but I just don't think it wasn't as critical. Now it's critical because there wasn't the competition, or there wasn't the easy out to get that. And most people, they watch stuff like that, they're not doing it themselves, right? So for them, they're watching it and they're imagining, oh, that must be incredible. Most people don't go to Africa, but they watch documentaries all the time on Africa, right? So it's important in that aspect, but I think like the next level is the detail part. And I don't think that's ever going to lose its value, but I don't know about how to say about was the big stuff ever valuable. I think in some ways it was or is, but yeah, I just think that now it's just, whether it was or wasn't, you're going to have to get better. It's going to have to be more than that now. But
I think it's really cool that you are talking about, I call them tangibles, because like, if you're duck hunting, it's like a different weed than if you're elk hunting.
Yeah.
And so like, to me, that all adds up to a story, like, or part of the story. And I was thinking about, and you'll see that in a lot of my stuff, is like really close focus. But there was a guy I was with, and his story was incredible. He was an elk guide in New Mexico, and he didn't talk much. And like, I looked at his hands, and they told the whole story. Yeah. And I was like, I don't even need him to talk, because if I can just get a picture of his hands, you understand like how much work that guy's put in. And those tangibles are so critical to storytelling.
Love that.
Yeah. And like with what we do with adventure too, it's say, you kill a bull, you could simulate the perfect shot in a bull, I guess, going down, but you couldn't simulate a less than perfect shot in a tough blood trail and on your hands and knees and looking and for a speck on pine. That still is so valuable, and that's real. So it's just going to, real stuff is, I think, always going to have that value, because you can't simulate it, you can't predict it. I mean, you can, just not that great. I mean, because there's so much. It's like when you mentioned out about that guy in his hands, I have this old photo of me and Roy were moose hunting, and we're coming down, he'd killed a moose, we're floating down the river. And I remember his hands sitting on the boat, and he's got duct tape around his finger because he cut his finger. Yeah. Duct tape works for everything. And that hand with the duct tape on it, that's all you need to see. Yeah. So could you simulate that? Sure. But man, it's that real stuff, I think, just so valuable. Mudwater is a Healthy Habits brand best known for its popular caffeine alternative. It's got 4 functional mushrooms, and the purpose is to never leave you feeling jittery. Don't get me wrong, I love coffee and usually drink 5 to 6 cups a day, but Mudwater has helped me cut back a little bit, especially once afternoon hits. I still even throw a little Mudwater in with my coffee, and they have a really good coffee creamer with MCT oil. Each ingredient was added for a purpose. Cacao and chai for a hint of caffeine and hot chocolate-like flavor. Lion's mane for focus, and both chaga and reishi to support healthy immune system. Plus, it's Whole30 approved, 100% USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. Mudwater donates monthly to support psychedelic research and has since day one. They believe the country is in a mental health epidemic, and that psychedelic-assisted therapy is one of the most effective tools we have to treat mental health conditions. Mudwater is hooking up my show with a special offer. If you go to mudwater.com/Cam Hanes, you get a free frother and $20 off. That's mudwater.com/Cam Hanes for a free frother and $20 off. I've been taking Ketone-IQ for the past year and have seen tremendous benefits, including mental clarity, increased focus, and more energy. Anytime I take the shot, I feel smarter. When I have on some really smart people like Andrew Huberman on the podcast, it can be intimidating because actually I'm not that smart. Nobody's ever called me smart. So that's an uphill battle for me. Ketone-IQ gives me a little more mental clarity, which I always could use. I also bring Ketone-IQ with me on many long runs and races for that matter, because I feel like it does give me a little bit of an edge. I've been lucky enough to spend some time with the people that run Ketone-IQ, like Michael Brandt for one, and he's just the type of guy I want to surround myself with, a winner, cares about performance, cares about doing things the right way, and just trying to find ways to get that edge. He's a runner himself, and so we can connect on that, but it's been a great partnership for me. What I will say, you can get Ketone-IQ, you can try it yourself using code CAM to save 30% off on your first subscription at ketone.com /cam today. That leads me to my next question is like, what excites you right now? Like, what are you working on that excites you? What project, and why does it excite you?
I'll let you answer first.
That's a great question. So we just did the film Gone, with my dad.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
I don't know if that film excited me so much as I thought it was a film that, I wanted to tell, wanted to do. And I mean, we do a lot of different stuff. We do film. I mean, a lot of different stuff excites us for different reasons, right? So we're doing some pretty cool stuff with some different companies that are interesting and companies that have given us a lot of, much like we're talking about, it's not coming from boardrooms and a bunch of directives and stuff. They say, okay, make something real with real people, right? So there's not like product shoots and stuff. These are like tell stories about people doing interesting, cool things. Mm-hmm. And that excites me. What also excites me though is some of the longer form stuff where we're like what you said, and Caleb and I talk about this all the time when we're traveling and we're dead tired after a shoot and we're saying like, are we headed in the right direction? Yeah. And we're leaning in, like what you said, to, well, people are going to value real stuff, the gritty stuff. We're not leaning into CGI or anything like that. We're going to say like real people's stories are going to be more and more valuable going forward. And we would like to ideally be the people that, are thought of when
you tell a real story.
Yeah, when you're going to tell a real story. Yeah, that moves people.
It feels like, God, I was thinking about, I don't know what I was thinking about, but putting more value on something. Now I can't remember what it was, but in relation to this, it's going to put more value on documentaries as opposed to big budget films. Films are fake anyway.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, if you look, whatever, Rambo, Terminator, it's fake. Didn't really happen.
Rambo's fake?
Yeah, well, no, not Rambo.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Obviously not Rambo.
Yeah.
Rocky, some people would say, it's like, I think he was actually a heavyweight champion. But even though he weighed 200 or 190. But anyway, I think documentary, that's what I was going to say. So it's the same way that value is being put on podcasts now after the election. It used to be big media, news outlets, they controlled the narrative. Yeah. Now, after Rogan and this election, and people saw the value of podcasts. Now podcasts are like, advertisers are like, what the hell, spending money? Nobody's even watching mainstream media. Right. We're going to spend it on podcasts. Same way that big budget films, I think, can be simulated way easier than a documentary of real people. So what you guys love to do, the long form documentaries, should just increase in value.
Yeah. I hope so. Actually, it's really interesting you said that. So if you think about it, when you go back to the 20s or whatever, and you sit down, I don't know if it was 20s. When was Charlie Chaplin and all the silver screen stuff? 20s? 30s?
I was just a baby at that time.
Yeah. I thought you were fully grown back then. But back then, people would be excited as hell, for whatever the movie is, and they go in there and they'd sit, I'm sure, and be all blown away by the silver screen, and there was no audio, or there's a band playing or whatever, and the type on the bottom. That was like cutting edge media for everybody. Mm-hmm. Now we look back on that, and I mean, I can't even watch it because it's, and I want to watch it because I want to feel like I'm like,
I can't watch movies from the 90s.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is like, this is like, we should make no mistake with the stuff that we think is amazing now. In 50 years, people are going back and be like, wow, Dad, like,
this sucks.
This sucks. Yeah. Can you actually start to see this? And I think it's a common fallacy to think that like the world doesn't change and that we don't evolve and have different priorities on things.
No, but what doesn't change are good stories.
Correct.
I can still watch old documentaries that still hit, and still evoke this emotion. What am I saying? I've said evoke like 20 times today, and I've never said it before in my life.
It's because it's the gun name that's in the film Gone.
Ooh.
That's why it was our marketing tag.
Really?
And it's working.
It's
subliminal.
Yeah. See, that's the power of stories.
That's right.
Even though I never watched Gone.
There you go. I love it.
That's how good the messaging was.
Yeah. All you got to do is see the thumbnail.
No, I did watch it. It was great. I just wanted your dad to get a bear. That's all. I was like, this thing has to end with a dead bear.
I know. Well, that's the one thing you told me when you watched it. Was like, it would be nice if you got a bear.
Yeah, I agree. Just sitting in the rain for like 4 days and no bear. It was rough.
Yeah, but that's that is real life too. So not everything follows a script. But yeah, so I think when I think of it, it's like the docs are going to be the thing. Nobody's going to give a shit about anything that can be simulated anymore. I guess, I mean, probably some like the just.
Well, I think if you think about it, like there's going to be a whole group of weirdos that love AI. Like they'll sit down, watch 3 hours of something fake that never happened. And it's the same feeling that we were talking about earlier where films are fake. A lot of films are fake. But if you watch like, I don't know, what's like a fictional war movie?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, Saving Private Ryan.
Is that fake?
Well, I mean, the movie is.
Well, so my point I was trying to make is like,
isn't.
if it's a completely fake film, story, everything, it has a different, when you end it, it doesn't feel the same as when you watch like Hacksaw Ridge, which was like, this guy actually went out and did this. Of course, it's dramatized.
Well, Saving Private Ryan still, I mean, I still feel it.
That's not a real story?
Well, I don't think that they went after like the actual Private Ryan and all his brothers died.
Okay.
You know, that's the premise of the story.
But it was kind of based on a real story, isn't it?
I would imagine.
I never saw that it was based on a real story.
Whenever you see that, like based on a true story, I think it hits a little different.
It does. It adds a little more to it.
Yeah.
It does. Because you're always like, or I watch a movie and I'm like, did this happen? And if it happened, it's just like, okay, no wonder I was so affected. Yeah. Because it was real. Yeah. So I get that.
Yeah. So that's where.
That's cool. So you're putting value on something purely because it's actually
happened.
Based on events. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I guess, hopefully that keeps going forward and gets even.
I think it will. I think
stronger,
the culture, as it becomes more saturated with artificial, I think the authentic, it becomes more valuable.
Yeah. And just, I mean, it's the same way that podcasts can't be contrived like mainstream media can. You know, you've seen that like when they had COVID and they were all saying the same script about whatever, and then people were watching that. Rogan has played this where every single news host or whatever anchor was saying the exact same words. Yeah. And it's just like, so that was the tipping point a little bit for now. People are like, what the hell is going on? And it made podcasts were real discussions where you're not talking perfect, and you say then you're like, oh wait, no, that's not what happened. But it gave this, or the candidates, like with the election, to people really be able to learn what they're about. So
absolutely,
it's the same type of thing because podcasts right now are just exploding. So,
and I think right now people they want to trust something, and so hopefully like the stories that we're working on, like people gravitate towards because. I think that's a bigger thing. Like, what can we trust right now?
What I always think about is I always think about the saying, give me something to believe in.
Yes.
That's all I want. Give me something to believe in. If I look at something and I don't, it's like, okay, on to the next. But if you give me something I can believe in, shit, we're on the right track. That's Absolutely. What I want. So
you asked earlier, about some projects we're working on. One thing that Caleb and I talk about a lot, which is related to this, is and even in storytelling, I try and look at like what the greater idea is, right? So Once Were Wolves, for example, is, on one level is about some dudes going hunting, and it's about a guy who lost his best friend and is coming back for the first time to, follow in the footsteps you guys originally started. But it's also, more broadly, the theme is, that we've lost a bit of our old selves. Everybody has. And along with that has come our sense of adventure and brotherhood and the bond that's formed when you have, dangerous experiences together, things like that. So right now, like when we're having this conversation, I'm thinking in my line, like digital. And then I'm going back to, this is going to date me a little bit back to when, you'd sit down at the washroom and a bunch of like magazines instead of your iPhone, right? And when you're reading books, you're not reading Kindles, you're reading like actual physical things. And you're having bookshelves full of 1,000 books, and you can walk into someone's place and look at that shelf and like, without even meeting that person, you can know a little bit about who they are. And so I think digital versus analog is kind of an interesting thing. Like part of me, and we've had lots of conversations, Caleb has ideas, he can bring it up or not here, but I think it'd be cool. I wonder if maybe we're going to slingshot like way out in the CGI direction, the AI stuff. And when we start to realize like how, empty that is in some ways, and how scrolling on our phones can be kind of like, it evokes emotions, but it's not really real, right? We're being manipulated. How cool would it be to like spring back the other direction? And now we're getting like to physical things. And you instead of like scrolling through your phone all day, like you take like a physical object, a book, a magazine, even a record player or something. And that becomes more, I don't know, maybe I'm being like yearning for the old days, but I feel like the analog stuff, there's something to that. And maybe you would know for sure, like this is printed in an actual place where humans are taking this and putting this together and writing about their adventures. And you read that, you say, oh, I can believe in this,
I mean, there's still bookstores. People
Really?
still, I mean, like having a book is still valuable when you talk about nostalgia or going back or whatever. So we're not quite to where everything is digital and you don't need a bookstore. It's like there's still value in having like my book, Undeniable. I mean, it looks good. It looks great. You said you can tell a lot about when you see somebody's book collection, a kind of a glimpse into what makes them tick, right? So that's still there. I will say though, on the book sales, audio books,
They crush.
They crush everything else.
Yeah.
Kindle, hard covers. But yeah, I mean, there is something to having, and I remember too, you mentioned the skateboarding magazines, but the old hunting magazines is all I just go to the store just to look at magazines.
Yeah.
That's just what I was doing. It's just like went to the store and just looked at magazines the whole time. So I too still love that.
See, what I question now is like the impact that you had looking at that magazine. Like for my son, he's 9 and he's starting to get into hunting. Like his version of that is digital. And I'm questioning if it has the same impression.
Right.
Because I felt like, I can physically remember certain photos. And now it's like so fast. And I wonder if that impression is if it marks them the same way.
Yeah, like in your soul, psyche.
Yeah,
kind
right?
of. Yeah, because
that's what I felt with reading that stuff.
I know. I remember Chuck Adams. He killed this bear on Kodiak. They said it was like 1,200 or 1,400 pounds, but he's sitting there, kind of died in this creek. I can still see the alders and the moss, and him sitting there, his big old double X75 arrows, and he's got his beanie on. I still see that photo.
Wow.
From I don't know how 30 years ago.
Wow.
So I do know what that means. Whereas if I'm thinking of an image that I saw on Instagram,
Right.
I can't think of one.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So you might be onto something.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
then how do we impact this generation in the same way? Is it film? Is it more gritty photos that have just more emotion in them? I don't know.
I know. Yeah. I got ideas, but no proven solutions, I guess.
Yeah.
But it is stuff that's what I think about, especially with my kids. But
I think to me, it's obvious. I think you have to lean into, like when everybody's going full on to the AI CGI world. That to me is like it's like a void of nothingness. There's nothing there. Certainly nothing for like the values that I have and things that I care about. There's nothing in that for me. So, to me, you got to lean the other direction, and you have to believe in your being that what you do, will continue to be valuable. And again, I keep thinking analog because that's the polar opposite of the direction we're going.
Yeah.
So for me, I think.
So like what you want to shoot on film?
Well, film would be incredible. Yeah, but film is very difficult to do. No, I think we want to make something physical, like
I think you should be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
think we could recreate that feeling that you had at the grocery store for this generation. Yeah, I do.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. You asked what projects we were excited about. Should I talk about the Ram? That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Do you know John Pinch at all? He just arrowed that Ram in Hell's Canyon.
Yeah. I've never met him, I don't think.
Yeah, he's an Oregon boy, really nice guy. But yeah, I went and shot that, and then it's in like post-production right now. So
good film?
Yeah, like the story is not as lengthy, you know, like you think of a ram hunt and you want to go 9 days or
What day did he kill?
3.
Okay.
So-
Well, better than day one.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a legit hunter. You
Yeah.
know? He kind of pulled me aside. He's like, man, sorry, it's not, you know, what you would imagine. And
Yeah.
he's like, sometimes you just get a layup, and he's
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I mean,
You take him when you can
part's-
get him.
Yeah, so that was cool.
But he got it with his bow?
Oh yeah, he's known as a rifle guy.
Right.
But-
That's I didn't even know he bow hunted, but I don't really know him. But
yeah, he bought the bow. I think the bow came in 2 weeks before the hunt. And yeah, he was a giant ram. I don't know a lot about rams, but
yeah.
it was cool. So I'm excited about that one. But yeah, I mean, the thing that makes us tick is just those stories that are a little deeper, you know. So whether it's a nobody that's calling me off a landline, or
Yeah.
you know, people that are known, I want to tell stories that have an impact and something I can show my son, and he like is motivated to go be whatever he's called to be, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't wait to show him your book. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, I don't know. That ram, how long is the film going to be, do you know?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to do the whole Branlin Shockey, like set up the story and then
Yeah.
show the hunt, you know. So that'll be cool.
Have you ever finished something in post? Because I feel like your post process is lengthy. See, photos, you can take like 1,000 of them, and then a few hours later, you know, they're all done and they're sent in. But video takes like
Video is
consistent
hard.
effort.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you got.
So you film video?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did both. I mean, I always do both.
Right.
I'm not going on an adventure without taking photos, but
What was the kill shot like?
very close.
Really?
Bro, like it's 118 and they go down to the water and he slips in on top. Like, just like, I know they got to come back up after the water. And it's John and his buddy Matt behind a rock. And he's thinking the rams are going to come up the same way they went down. And he's full draw to the left. And Matt's like, hey, they're on the right.
Oh, man.
And so he goes under Matt. And then,
Stayed at full draw or let up?
no, he stayed.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of sketchy. But
Yeah.
they're Oregon boys. That,
Yeah, no, they get it done.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
And
I mean, I wish he'd been shooting his bow for decades. That's only the couple weeks, but whatever. I mean, I know it sounds like he's a great hunter and
Yeah.
turned out good and
Yeah.
he made a good shot.
I think he was like deep into archery for a long time.
Oh, okay.
And then,
Just got a new bow.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So
Well,
I don't think he owned one for a couple years or something.
I just didn't
Yeah.
want somebody to go pick up a bow.
No, that's not
As they're
recommended.
going to the hunt.
No. He's definitely qualified, but
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to go on one of his hunts.
Who, mine?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't want to screw James out of the opportunity to get fired, but I mean, these guys will film it, I'm sure. But
Absolutely.
I should draw Winnehaw this year, which is Oregon's premier elk hunt. I've been putting in. I have 23 points, so I put in this. This will be the 24th year, and I have a 72% chance of drawing.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
that's backcountry wilderness, hunting off the back, and should be a decent bull. You know, good bulls back there. So
That's exciting.
Would you need to be in shape, you think, to follow you around on one of the elk hunts, or no? Pretty easy hunt from the road.
yeah, no, it'll be a road hunt. Yeah,
That's
We got to
funny.
start training.
you don't need to get in shape. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be fun. So we definitely have to make the most of that. I don't know how many people we can take.
Oh, I bet you would love it. Just like 4 people behind you.
No,
Yeah, he loves that.
Yeah.
I don't want even one person, but we are going to have to come up with a good plan for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm excited about that. You just reminded me of it when you said you wanted to film one of mine. That one, the other ones, like, they're great hunts, giant bulls, not quite the same as packing into the wilderness.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To me, this is, and especially in my home state, and especially a tag I've been putting in for 24 years. So
What do you think would be? I'm really curious. what would be like the ultimate hunting film to you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to know.
What would it have in it?
A weather event. So James is always saying we need a wet. What's that?
I said nothing I've made.
Yeah. No.
Weather event is nice. Yeah.
The opposite of whatever I've made.
Yeah,
Right. So that's a good starting point. No. God, I love the grizzly hunt. I love the dangerous stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like, I bow hunted a lot of different things. Most are just prey animals. And, as a predator, we have the advantage just as far as that goes. So I love hunting predators, and where there's risk or high stakes involved, that's what I love the most.
Wow.
And then, yeah, just adventure, just capturing a big adventure.
Mm-hmm.
What about like discomfort?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like anybody's like, oh, I can't wait to be miserable, but that is usually part of these trips, and it does make great film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you can't, again, we talked about simulating. It's hard to simulate being miserable or misery.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because you were talking yesterday when we were filming. You're talking about part of the reason why people bring the rock up, why you have them do that, is because, at some level, and obviously not life and death, but it pushes people to, a point where they, become more vulnerable, or their vulnerabilities are exposed, and they become more open, and you kind of see a little bit about what this person is made of, right? It has nothing to do with the time they bring the rock up or anything like that. It's just like what they say,
Yeah.
how they act.
Right.
And I wonder, because I've never really thought exactly what specifics we're looking for, but I know in like certain hunts, I know like certain times they excite me and certain times they don't. And it usually I think has to do with like that level of discomfort. And you're sleeping at night and your sleeping bag gets full of water and it sucks. Like, what do you say during that time, when you're going to have to spend 12 hours in the dark with your soaked sleeping bag? That says a lot about people. And I think from a human interest perspective, because that's what we're talking about, is films about people doing things that are hard. I just think it makes things more interesting. And I never really thought about it until you mentioned The Rock. But the issue with you is that, you got to, it's hard to get you in a position where you are so uncomfortable that, you open up a bit. And so I don't know what that would be, but I don't want to be the camera guy on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, making good film, hunting film, very hard. Very hard. It's like we filmed now, for the last however many decades, a lot of people have filmed a lot of stuff. So what makes your story stand out? Once Where Wolves did, we had some great, there's a lot of a great backstory. And then also, as you mentioned, the human evolution part about how we've been removing ourselves from the mountains, essentially. And so that was super interesting, that part of it. Then Kip's crazy quote about killer badass mountain man, that kind of really just drove it home. And then, we had everything we needed there. We had the magic formula for that film. How do we do it again? That's the challenge.
Oh, you mean you guys didn't sit down and write all that out and
Pre-plan it? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like we did the same hunt. We did a grizzly hunt. We went back up there and made a perfect stock and made a perfect shot, and the bear was dead. It was a great film, but there was no like the being miserable. Really, there was no risk or the big story arc. It wasn't there.
Wait, Branlin tells the story different. He's whining about the whole thing being.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I was whining.
That was the first one. I'm talking about the one we just did.
Got it.
The one we just did where I went in, made the perfect shot, bear went and died. I mean, it was great film.
Yeah.
And James did a good job on that. We made a good film.
Oh,
It was different because the pieces for the formula were different.
Yeah. So I think that it's important to understand that we are not actors, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure if you're Brad Pitt, I can give you a script and you go up there and we.
I'm an actor.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
that's right. You are an actor. I'm
You have
sorry.
your card and stuff.
I don't know. I don't think so. But
When
I
did-
should.
yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, I forgot about
No,
that.
that's hilarious.
Yeah. So anyway, speak for yourself.
Okay, speak for myself.
Me and
Anyway,
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, besides you and Brad Pitt, if you, we're not capable in a sense that people are going to like really, it's not going to be believable, right? And this is a mistake. I think this is a mistake to even try. Don't try and pre-plan stuff and say, oh, we're going to tell this amazing story, or we're going to do this and this and this, and this is going to happen on day 3, and then we're going to go here. Like, don't do that. I think the first ingredient for, at least, and I'm talking from a very narrow perspective of like adventure documentary stories, right? Long form stories. Make it real. So don't, if I would have said to you, hey, Cam, yeah, it's pretty cool. We're going to Alaska, for the second trip, like, let's, pretend you want to go up there because of something else you did with Roy or like your other friend, that whatever, like it's not real, right? The Roy stuff is real, and that's what made that so powerful.
Yeah.
So it's got to be real. Okay. It also needs to be difficult, because if there's no challenge, then nobody gives a shit. It's not worth telling. There's no accomplishment.
Right.
Right. So it's got to be hard, and that varies. Like, it doesn't need to be objectively hard. It needs to be hard for the people involved. So some guy from, and doing accounting in the 90th floor of some Manhattan building, if he's going to go do an Alaskan hunt, that might be hard as shit for him, even if it's not that hard of a hunt, and that works. That's great. So for that person involved, and that's why with you it's so difficult, because it's difficult to get you in a spot where you're going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it's nearly impossible. So, but you don't need that because you're the stories with Roy. But anyway, you have to be real. You have to be something difficult, and I think it has to have some overarching thing that resonates with people. Right. And like the crazy example is like, nobody cares about some alien love story. Like, we care about things that we can relate to. And so with Once We're Wolves, the idea that, we're losing a sense of who we used to be, for better or for worse. And here's an example of someone like Kip, who like has everything the modern world thinks, we need, but he doesn't want that. He wants to go back, to not have that shit. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And it resonates with people.
Yeah.
It resonated with me when I was, the footage in the beginning of that film is from, I took that like in Vancouver, looking at the hotels and stuff we're staying at, and that crazy landscape.
Yeah.
Like, and thinking, wow, this doesn't feel natural. With the people typing wearing keyboards, like in the little, the window frames and stuff of the buildings. Like that, like, what are we doing? What? Like, how do we get here? So, and that's just one, and I don't know how to replicate that easily. Like, coming up with this stuff is also difficult, and you have to, don't assume you can just, even myself, I feel a lot of pressure because people are like, oh yeah, you tell these great stories.
The last one.
Yeah. And like, if we do something with you, it's going to be great. I'm like, oh, what do you want to do? Like, oh, we're going to go on some hunt, and it's going to be awesome. You should come along. I'm scared as shit to do that because I don't want to let people down, kind of like what you do. I don't want to create something that isn't going to move people,
Right.
and you need these ingredients, and it's hard. It sucks.
I think there's always going to be a challenge on making something powerful, so maybe it's just even gotten harder now because you can simulate so much, but the challenge hasn't changed. It's like, how are we moving people? So that's always going to be the question.
Well, there's so much competition these days.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, hunting is still unique where there's less competition in hunting and big adventure hunting.
Right.
So you guys, I'm not going to say have a corner on the market, because there's other people that are pretty good at it, but not a ton. So, it's a good place to be. It's not like you're making fucking car commercials where there's a million people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a handful you got to be better than. You guys can do that,
Yeah.
right?
That was pretty close to a compliment. Was that a compliment?
That was pretty close.
Was it?
I think I heard it.
I hope
Do you
I
give
didn't.
compliments?
I didn't want it to come across that way, so I apologize.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to think about just creating. I mean, everybody. I sent you, Max Jolliffe. He had that film that Ty Lore filmed. What's Ty Lore's last name? Do we know? Ty Lore? Do we know, James?
No, I can't remember.
Can't remember.
Anyway, I thought that was great. Super creative. I love the opening scene. So, I mean, that's just what we have to do. We have to just make things that move people. Because when I watched that film, I was like, this is like a movie. It looked so good.
Yeah.
And he had the music starting where Max is skateboarding, and then he picked up the skateboard, went into the liquor store, the convenience store, and the movie was playing over the speaker then. Or I mean, the same music that was playing as he was on the skateboard was playing in the store.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
it just sounded different because it sounded like the audio from the store. So it's just like that little stuff. I'm like, that's what we have to do, shit like that.
Yeah.
You gotta learn how to skateboard.
No, I just
Am I
let-
missing something?
you know, the story was just so good, or how it was presented, I guess, was so good.
So speaking of hard things, this race you're doing is, what's it called? In
I
May?
don't recall.
The 250 mile one? You don't know?
Cocodona.
Is it a secret? Cocodona?
Yeah.
So we're going to film that.
Okay.
And Caleb and I have been talking about that because it's, how many days is it going to take you to do 250 miles?
Depends on how fast I run.
Yeah. Well, I looked at the logistical hurdle of filming that, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. And we're not even running it. We're just driving.
Yeah.
And it's going to be rough. But I'm excited because we're talking about like what goes into a good story, and you know, you're going to do something that's hard, objectively hard, right, by whoever measures it. And I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah.
We're not prepping anything. We're not pre-planning it. We're just going to go and film it and see what ends up going on. But like you asked, what kind of stuff excites us and what we're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Because I know no matter what, even if you finish the thing and things go like relatively okay, there's going to be a story to tell there.
No, it never goes relatively okay over 3 days. So it'll take me, like it took me to run 240 at Moab was 78 hours. So it's 3 days essentially. And I think the record for this might be in the 60s. So potentially somebody could break 60 hours this year because Courtney's running. There's some great runners in there. I could see somebody going under 60, I think, with the perfect race, but it's going to be close to 3 days, no matter how you slice it for most people. I think the cutoff is like, or no, for Taylor's race, he's doing the 300, the Arizona Monster. I think the time cutoff for that is 7 days.
Wow.
Wow.
Which seems like a long time, but what is that? That's still, what is, how many miles a day is 7 days?
40 miles a day.
So
over 40.
yeah, that's 280. So it's more than 40 miles a day. It's hard, dude. 40 miles every day for 7 days.
That's insane.
And that's your cutoff. You have to get done in that time. And that's still hard.
Yeah.
So if you've ever tried to go, how far can I go in a day? Not most people. Some people could get 40. But could you do it 6 more days in a row?
Oh man.
That's what's hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, you might think, oh God, that's a long time to do a race. Not really. You got to go 300 miles. So yeah, with it's just going to be 3 days no matter what, and in 3 days time where, you know, the objective is to not sleep as much as possible. Like with Moab, I think I slept 2 hours. So if you're only sleeping 2 hours in 3 days, yeah, crazy shit happens.
Are you serious?
You're going to say some really crazy stuff, and we're going to capture it. What is the most interesting thing about that, do you think? Because I know, like, and we're talking about the physical part of this, and you're going to run yourself down, and I think that's, you know, that's interesting. But what else about it? Because to me, when you're talking about doing this, like if we're talking about storytelling, I'm going to like, okay, like, why are you doing this? Right, like, because that's not normal to want to run 250 miles because of how difficult that is and the training involved, and the fact that at the finish line, you're not. I mean, no one's waiting there with a Bentley for
There's like
you.
5 people there.
Yeah, it's like 5 people and they're clapping,
Really?
you know, or whatever. But
Wow.
yeah,
It's not for the accolades.
No.
right.
No.
So like, again, you don't have to answer this now, but like, if you're talking about storytelling, I would dig into that, and I'd be like, why?
Just to see if it's possible. See if you can do it. Can I cover that distance?
Right. And then, you know, further to that, like, I'd ask why, like, one more level, like, why is that important to you? Why is finding your limit important? And not just important from like a sense of like, oh yeah, it's pretty important, but like important to the degree that you're going to train 5 hours a day and run 100-mile weeks for months leading up to this thing, to, you know, and so then nearly kill yourself. Like, why is that important?
To me, it's just like the ultimate way to honor the gift of life. It's like this, I'm living my life. It's at its highest potential. I don't know what my highest potential is. I want to find out, because that's how you honor this opportunity we have to do what we do. If you're not giving your best, if you're not always wondering, what am I actually capable of? Are you honoring the gift of life?
Wow.
Or are you just getting, is it just another day?
Right. Okay. So again, story side, for me, that is the thing that makes this interesting. That's the thing that makes this something that I think can be very powerful, because that resonates. Nobody wants to be on their deathbed, look back at their life and say, man, I could have done,
No,
I know
they say, I wonder if I could have done that.
Right. And
I want to know.
Right. And that's relevant now, because if you don't want to be in that place, you need to change things now. You need to do more now.
Yeah.
And so seeing someone like yourself do that, even though it's like, it's such a physical thing, there's no way you can't watch that and say, yeah, I think I could do a little more today. And I think that's the way you resonate with people. So I'm excited to like dig more into that.
Yeah. I like the part of it too, where, because a lot of people, there's GPS trackers on all the racers, and I've followed a lot of these races because there's always people I know running. I want to see how they're doing.
Oh, cool.
It's always like there's this fascinating part that happens where you're going through your day and you just check in like, oh, I wonder how Taylor's doing on this race. Oh, he's, mile 80. Oh, that's cool. You go, you do whatever, you go to bed, you get out the next day. Oh, I wonder how Taylor's doing. Oh, he's at mile 140. Wow. You're doing this. Oh, I got to go to work. Oh, we're going to go to the movie. You guys want to go get some dinner? Come out, go to bed, get up. Gosh, I got to wonder where Taylor's at. Oh, he's at 270 now. So this whole life is going on for days, all these different things people do. And this one person is still just running, still just covering distance for all these things that people did, all these birthday parties and took a shit, 6 shits. And it's just like all this happened while you were just running.
Wow.
That's what's pretty cool.
Well, just out of curiosity, what happens when you need to use the bathroom when you're running?
Well,
like one of these ultras.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, there's not a lot of waste. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're eating less than you're burning. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not like most people, if you say, I took 6 shits today, you ate way more than you burned, right?
Got it. Okay.
So conversely, there's not a bunch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I don't remember, like when I did Moab, I don't remember taking a shit in 3 days.
Wow. Running lean.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's, I'm not saying people don't, because your stomach does get kind of up. It's just like you're trying nowadays, because of this fueling, people are taking in, it was like this formula, how many carbs and calories per hour you need. Well, when you do that on an empty stomach and you're taking in all these high fructose, high sugar calories, it does mess with your stomach. So you can have stomach issues that are the opposite of not taking a shit. So it's like, you're having all sorts of, but generally, there's not a lot of waste to expel.
Interesting.
But yeah.
I think there's something, beautiful, not in taking a shit, but there's something beautiful in the sense of like what ultramarathon runners do, where you're, and I've obviously never done it and probably never will, but when you're running out there in the middle of the night, nobody's around, or maybe your pace or whatever, and you've got 150 miles left to go, and you've already been going for 24 hours, and you've got 5 people at the finish line waiting for you. I don't know. I guess, I think like with what we do, right? Which is currently anyway, we create media, right? And the AI stuff is coming up, and that's going to create media that, from a visual standpoint, is probably just as good as what we do pretty quickly. And if we ever have to face that moment where you say, okay, hey, there just isn't like a market for this anymore because an AI can do stuff for $10 that we would charge thousands of dollars to do. Our art isn't really worth anything. And if we're going to go forward or not, I almost think of like the ultramarathon and stuff. It's like, that shouldn't even be something we ask. It's like, if you want to, if that's something you're drawn to, then do it. And the other stuff doesn't matter. All the stuff that we get tied into with the money and the trying to sell stuff and whether or not people like it. I mean, you've got 5 people at the finish line and you're running a 250-mile race. Like that should be, I mean, I don't know if what you're doing is art necessarily, but I think it's beautiful in the same way that like art can be. And there's a nobility in that. And I hope that whenever that choice gets put to myself, like my answer is gonna be like, yeah, hell yeah. You know, I'm going to do the art for art's sake and
Oh, that's serious. Yeah.
You know, and be in my deathbed and look back and say, yeah, I gave my life to that and for like noble reasons.
I like that. I think that when people think about these races, you know, like if you think of Courtney doing this race, some people who aren't immersed in the culture would be like, oh, I wonder how much she makes with sponsors. And I wonder this or that. Like, and that's so far for somebody like her. And for most ultra runners, it's just like that's not why people do it. Because if that's why you do it, you're never going to do it because you're never going to make enough money to offset the pain and the sacrifice. Yeah. But like what fascinates me about her, and you guys should listen to this. We did that podcast when she was here, but I didn't even realize this. We've run so much, spent so much time together. I did not realize this visual she has. But I want to say this too because you guys being creative, it'll probably resonate with you. But she talks about going into the pain cave, right? I thought, oh, you just embrace the pain. That's what we do. It's going to hurt. Every step's going to hurt. You embrace that. You don't shy away from it. That's how you get through this race. When she talked about the pain cave, because she would say that, oh, she likes to hurt in these races because she wants to make the cave bigger. She's like expanding her pain cave. And I did not realize until recently, and I've listened to every podcast she's been on. I've talked to her for days in the mountains. I did not realize she is actually visualizing this pain cave she's thinking about the cave. She's in the cave, same cave every race with a chisel, hitting it with a hammer and like rubble falling. And she's making the actual cave is getting bigger.
Wow.
She's working. So she thinks about, I'm just breaking rock. I'm not running. I'm working.
It's incredible.
Yeah, that is.
And then I was just like, I said, is it furnished? Have you made it nice in there? She's like, no. But I said, is there other wings? She's like, yeah. Like a certain, whatever race she's doing, she might just go make a hallway.
Wow.
She's actually thinking about that. Just the cave, the same cave. She goes back to where she left off in the last race.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it means other than it opens up to me. And I've thought about this running since I learned her approach, but it just opens up this other door of what is going on with these races.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is this dimension I didn't know about? Because I was, even being a lifelong runner, I thought it was just like, oh, we just got to deal with this pain. I didn't know there was this other dimension where you could go away from the pain or embrace the experience, appreciate and love the pain instead of shying away from it and lean into it. And I'm using this pain for this purpose to work on this cave. I'm not running. Working on this cave.
Yeah, I mean, I think
powerful.
Very powerful, and I think just makes me think of like, wow, like how crazy is the human mind?
That's why I wanted to mention it because you guys, as I said, being creative, maybe that unlocks an idea. Maybe it unlocks something in your brain to capture this experience in a more poignant, powerful way because we haven't thought about that before. We haven't thought about like, oh, I was coming at it from this way. We can come at it from this way.
Yeah.
What does that look like now? Mm-hmm. So that's why I mention it here because I just think that, you know, events like that, it's like our brain, I don't know how it controls us. I don't know what kind of influence it has, but there's something crazy going on.
Yeah, and you would never, like, I wonder, is she alone in that because specifically she's doing ultras and pushing herself that hard? Or is that something that, you know, we all kind of do in a way? We have our own pain caves and maybe we don't think of it so clearly as that. But maybe that's, you know, because our brain is, you know, constantly, what is it, plasticity? Or it's constantly changing. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if we're adapting ourselves. Like, I wonder if our brain's like, hey, this is hard. And, you know, I'm going to send you this thing where you can sort of explore into, because that's like a coping thing. And then she, explores more in that direction, becomes stronger and stronger. And that becomes something that like part of her identity.
I kept asking her questions, and she was just like, I think I want to stop talk. She goes, the more I talk, the more crazy I sound. And I'm like, no, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I just loved it. So you can't say it's crazy, because it's her thoughts and it's how she's dealing with it. So maybe instead of crazy or something, maybe it's like, it's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
maybe she has the key.
You can't deny that. Yeah.
For her, it's the key.
Did that translate to you? Like, do you have a visual now, or like did that?
I've been trying. I mean, I haven't to get there, bro.
It's gotta be dark.
My little training runs, even if they're long, you don't get there. That happens after a while,
right?
So then I don't know. I haven't been there yet.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, I think every human is creative to some degree, and that is a true expression of what she's earned, because that's her creativity,
right? So when we talk about AI, you're AI. You can what we just talked about, AI, no future in that. A human brain navigating through challenge like that's always going to be unique.
Yeah.
And so that story and that visual is always going to be its own, and so how do we share that?
Mm-hmm.
How do we spotlight that? That's the challenge. But stories like that or experiences like that are always going to be, that's a human fabric.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think we embrace that. I think we embrace the fact that we're human, and we don't try and, like, in the old days, not in the old days, but not too long ago, there was an emphasis on, doing math and calculations and stuff, and, memorizing answers to questions. I think nowadays, I hope, as that AI stuff becomes more powerful and able to answer any question we want, there's less of a need for us to memorize things and know how to do our, whatever, multiplication tables, and potentially more of a need for us to, keep grounded in like what makes us human, with all the flaws and the beautiful madness that makes up our lives. Like, how do we keep grounded in a world that's constantly trying to manipulate us? And I think that's an example of that. She creates her own pain cave. Wow. And like freaking hacks away at it to like make herself able to excel in this crazy difficult environment. That's what a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I just love, we're so like, when I talk about these calories per hour, carbs per hour, super shoes, so science-based. And then conversely, I ask her, I said, do you know what your VO2 max is? You guys know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Like VO2 max, it's like whatever, endurance measurement type thing. But she's like, no. She's like, it doesn't, I don't care. Wouldn't matter to me what it is.
Yeah.
So I love that part, where everybody else is leaning into performance and science and this or that. She's just like, what difference does it make? I'm running in the mountains. And she doesn't listen to music when she goes running. Whoa. She's like, by herself. I said, you listen to podcast music? No, nothing usually. Just loves the mountains. So to me, it's like that spirit is so unique. And then also the fact that she's the best to ever do it.
Right.
So is that the key? Does she have the key? Mm-hmm. Is like all this the science and the strategy and these calculations on how do I be, is that the wrong path and her path is the right path? I don't know.
It's like Rocky.
Deep questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty fascinating. But until you're out there pushing your limits like she has, or some of these runners will do for 200 miles, you'll never have this discussion. It's never going to come up.
Right.
And that's why regular life to me sucks. What do you learn? What do you learn?
Right.
Yeah.
It's all controlled.
Mm-hmm.
We're never I mean, what do you learn? You don't learn. You learn this much about what makes you tick or what's important to you or what's important to these other people because it's just so sanitized and protected. I don't give a about that.
Right.
So, and I think that like, I think that in general, people are not as content as what they sort of portray. So when you start talking about someone like Courtney having a key and like finding this place where she can, this sort of mental strategy to get around like how difficult the current situation is, and excelling and being the best and ignoring the science and like just being herself and eating nachos and drinking beer or whatever, and then going crushing everybody in the mountains, not listening to music. I think that's interesting. And I don't think that everyday life, if you start talking about doing obviously, like with all respect, the 9 to 5 thing, that doesn't usually make like an interesting story, right? Because
does it usually or never?
No, well, maybe never. I'm just saying, like, people are drawn to that because I think deep inside we're like, well, yeah, we're not really content, right? Most people aren't. Yeah. And when we see someone who is content, doing crazy shit and excelling at it, that's like a draw to everybody. That resonates with everybody.
I think so. I mean, I even think about sometimes like, oh, I did a 100-mile week. I did 20 miles today. Blah, blah. And I'm like, that doesn't mean shit. 20 miles back in whenever time when you had to cover distance to survive, 20 miles was nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody said, oh God, that's incredible. How much have you done this week? Right. It's just like that. So that's what we're built for. That's what the human body is designed for. Not for watching TV. So why are we celebrating just doing what we're designed to do? You know what I mean? It's not a 20-mile run should just be, that's what humans are built for. It's just weird how much has changed. And then that makes me think of too, like when people say, I mentioned this the other day, but when I think of Courtney or when I think of people like her, when people say, well, what makes you happy? Are you happy? Because, man, you do all this stuff. It seems like, what's wrong? Are you not happy? And it's like, well, what is happy? I don't know what happy is. Happy to me is not eating birthday cake, watching TV. Happy is being in the mountains and being kind of miserable. So it's like, why is your definition of happy what I have to say? I mean, who's to say what's happy? Right. I think what you think, when you're happy, I would be miserable. And when I'm happy, maybe you would be miserable. So it's just weird how different we are.
Same species.
Same. And it's like, so it's pretty fascinating. But that's what excites me is discussions like that, moments like that, learning nuggets like that from, I don't know, it's just, I don't know. It's.
I love that, Cam.
Yeah, I just want to. That's the type of stuff I want to share, create, impact people with. Those types of things. So how do we make that as a package that now people can be like, I get what they're saying.
Right.
This is it. I get it. How do we make people get it? That's the challenge.
I think you're doing it, man. I think you are doing it with the books, with the podcasts, with the films. Like, so many people are inspired by that. Yeah.
Well, then you think about that story I told you about Huberman saying like his lift, run, shoot experience here, carrying the rock, shooting the bow and all that, that after 48 or 49 years, that was the best day of his life.
Right.
How could that happen? How could you have what everybody else would look at his life from afar and be like, this guy's got it all. But then the guy who has it all gets his ass kicked on the mountain, and that's his best day?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. So I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's like almost a pendulum swing. We've been pursuing comfort for so long that we've kind of like gone into this crazy direction. And, in some ways, like I understand that you're living in a cave or whatever and making fires and choking on smoke and dying when you're 25. Like that doesn't sound all that awesome. So I can see why, over the last several thousand years, we've pursued ways to make our lives simpler, right? So we don't have to walk 10 miles to get water every day and whatever else. However, I do think that we mistake the sort of macro society's needs with our own individual needs. And we think, everybody needs to be, you're going to grow up and you're going to go and you're going to be this type of worker and you're going to work for 40 years and you're going to retire. those are things that, from a macro perspective, like from looking at a country or whatever, that makes all kinds of sense. Because now you can be slotted. You're a 1, you're a 0, you're a 3, you're a 4. You can be, oh, you do this, you're here. You do this, you're here. You do this, you're here. We need X number of this kind of people, X number of this. Let's adjust your school so we have more people doing this. But that isn't, that I don't feel like we were built for that. I don't feel like, not just physically, but like mentally, and I think we're figuring that out now. And so when he climbs up a rock and climbs up the mountain with a rock and say, that's the best freaking day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like, it's like surprising in a way, but it's kind of not surprising.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of, I don't know if refreshing is the right word, but I loved hearing it. It's loved it. That was like, I'll never forget when he said that. That's how much I loved it. You know how much stupid shit people say that you couldn't remember if somebody had a gun to your head? But I remember him saying that. Right. That's why it's so cool.
Yeah.
Must be validating for you.
I don't know about that. I just don't know how I really interpret it. All I know is that I thought I was amazed.
Yeah.
I didn't anticipate it because, like I said, rich, famous, jacked, attention, everything what you'd think people want, he has. Mm-hmm. But what he wanted was what we did.
Wow. And, he's got all the, like, I look at Huberman, he's got all the answers too.
Yeah.
To me. So did he come in this like knowing that was possible, or that just naturally happened?
No, it just happened. He didn't know. He didn't anticipate that. But why I wanted to also share hunting with him is because, as you said, he has all the answers. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah,
to me, I'm like at the very bottom end of human existence. Basically, is just like hunt, kill, run, eat. And he's like at the top end, all the answers, the brain, the synapses, the neuroscience, the whatever. So I'm like, you could somehow, if we could come together and go on a hunt and you could use your brain to explain hunting and why it's so powerful to my dumbass caveman brain. And so I could help you get to this place where like, hey, here's what a hunter thinks. Here's what we do. And then he could translate it to his world.
Wow.
That's why I've been fascinated to get him on a hunt. And The Rock did that. It gave me a glimpse into like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Him at the lowest level of life, like where I live, sharing that with somebody so evolved.
Yeah.
And so I want that same thing for hunting.
What about this Oregon hunt?
Yeah, I know. I've tried to get him on it 1,000,000 times. Oh, you mean the elk hunt?
Yeah.
No, he's not going to go fuck up my once-in-a-lifetime elk hunt.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember he was like pointing out something on one of these animals when he was here, and he was like talking about, like it can smell through this thing. Do you remember that?
I know.
Yeah, he knows everything.
He does.
Yeah.
I mean, you could talk about, you look at anything on any of these animals or like what inside, because he did all these experiments on mice and dye in their brain on blah, blah, blah. If this happened, what happened? So he gets it all. What does that mean when now you killed an animal and now you're a hunter? And now how does it all tie together? Because he's got how this all ties together.
Right.
I know how this part ties together with me surviving. I got to kill this thing and eat it. How does it all tie together?
The bridge.
Yeah.
The bridge.
That's it.
So how do we get that to come together? How do we get
now he
Andrew
wants to
out there with
hunt. He wants to hunt. He's dying to hunt. So he's got a bow. He shoots all the time. So now we're just got to make it happen.
Oh, imagine him when you're breaking it down.
Yeah, I know.
That would just be, I would just watch 15 minutes of just that.
Yeah. He would it would probably take for ever.
Well, yeah, at the top of Pisgah, he was looking at the monument. Do you remember this?
Yeah. I know.
And he knew every sea aquatic animal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even their like origins and stuff.
I know.
It was wild.
Wow.
Yes, dude. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
And he's a homie. Like,
right, yeah.
He's so cool.
Well, no, he can talk where most scientists, they talk and I'd be like, what language is this? I don't even know what you're, but he can do it, dumb it down so much where even I can understand it. So when he talks about however he presents it, that's why he's so relatable. That's why he had 500 kids over at the U of O on a Thursday night, is because he can make all this, he just knows how to present it to the uneducated essentially, or the lesser educated, and it still makes sense. So that's why I wanted, once he was saying that, we spent time together, I'm like, I have to get you on a hunt just so we can bridge this gap over how we used to have to survive and what it means now.
Yeah.
So
I think there'll be a cool, like for you, like you might leave that experience like having more reverence for elk than
maybe.
Like, yeah, I mean, although you already do, but just like those little details, like I didn't know this or that. Like,
well, just like what I learned about Courtney in the Pain Cave. It's like,
Yes.
how many other little things do I think I know about, but really I have no clue.
yeah,
In hunting, been doing it my whole life, but I've never had it broke down from a perspective like somebody like a neuroscientist like Huberman has never explained it to me. So maybe I don't know what I don't know.
wow.
See, I think the opposite almost. I think almost like carrying the rock, I'd be excited to see what he learns.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
someone who knows everything, has all the answers, like goes on some hunt where he gets
Just plug it
his
in
ass
AI.
kicked for a few days and gets to analyze you. Yeah.
Plug it in AI.
Plug in the AI, yeah.
What did Huberman learn on his first hunt?
Yeah.
James, yeah. What up, James? Oh, that's what I was gonna do earlier when we were talking about AI. I was gonna tell it. Tell me about Cam Haynes' elk hunt this fall, or like write a story about Cam. Yeah,
I know.
It's always like the leaves were falling and the wind was whistling. It's like very like detailed. It's funny.
Well, because at least AI knows that it's the detail, right?
Right.
It's a detail that makes a story. So it's trying.
It is.
It doesn't know what it smells like or can't that day, that one day after a rain shower,
Right.
you know, in the fall. You have to, but if we don't explain that, we have no advantage over AI. That's the thing. It puts pressure on us to be better. And that's okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay. It's like, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's an exciting time. Yeah, just because I don't know, being creative right now it's an exciting time for sure. And I just want to see what we can come up with, and either we sink or swim. I mean,
I'd prefer to swim if we can.
He can't swim very
No,
well.
I have to learn how to do that. Yeah, it's interesting, Cam. I try and I'm very hopeful. Like I think all this stuff is really exciting, and I think that so far, it's like you said, it's been nothing but positive for us.
Yeah.
And like you're saying that this focus or this turn towards more authentic storytelling is going to be more valuable, and we see that. I think there's a reason people are drawn to Caleb's photos, myself included, and hopefully the work that we do, and yeah, we definitely intend to keep that going and keep going down that direction, but also on the human interest side, like look for more dichotomies like yourself and Andrew, or Courtney and whatever the opposite of her is, and I don't know who that would be. Someone who doesn't get off the couch, like there's so many interesting human tidbits out there that haven't begun to be explored, I think, and maybe because we've been too busy, looking over in this direction and
distracted.
Yeah, I don't know. This is, I wish we could be in more places at once.
Yeah.
But yeah, like stories like what you're talking about and the people involved are exciting as heck to me.
Yeah. Usually what happens is I talk about all this shit and then it never comes up again and nothing ever happens, and then we're on to the next thing.
We should make a pact right now.
Yeah, shake on it, Branlin.
Yeah. At first I was a one-man wolf pack.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to use this. Let's use this conversation.
That's a hangover reference. I know you don't watch movies or know anything about anything.
I don't watch comedy movies.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh,
He does.
It's a great movie,
How did you
though.
miss that?
Should have known.
Oh, is that when they like punch out Mike Tyson or something?
I
it's
mean, he
the-
was in it, but
Zach
Zach
yeah.
Galifianakis or whatever.
Yeah.
He was a one-man wolf pack, and then he wanted to be blood brothers with the other guys, blah, blah, blah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, so then there was 4 in the pack.
We're kind of different. We could probably do a film on you and I being like so different.
Yeah, like
Like I don't watch comedy movies. Or what was that channel you like? The
I'm who everybody wants to be, and you're who like nobody wants to be.
yeah, kind of like that. Struggling in the
Be a
dark
good
by myself
story.
and nobody cares. 5 people at my finish line.
No, because in truth, you're like what, 6'4", handsome, have hair, smart, and then there's me, which is a direct opposite of that.
And I'm slow, you're fast.
Not really.
You're strong. I'm not.
You did 225. You benched it.
Once. And only because all the guys here
Hyped you up.
Yeah, just for reference, we had a bench pressing competition yesterday with all the camera guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did not win. We had big boy over here, 315.
Yeah, Ethan.
Good lift.
Yeah, 315. That's a good lift. Have you done that? Have you done 315?
Yeah.
No.
I think I did my max.
Holy smokes.
335. Wow. You can do that though, right?
I haven't. Not yet.
Oh, well, it looks like you can.
I just got to
You're thick. You're like, I see those shoulders. I'm like, you can lift. But it didn't surprise me that you benched 315. You're jacked.
I think just going back to regional storytelling stuff, I think that part of it is just being inspired to get out and like find cool shit, like unearth cool shit, like bat away at the cave and like see what falls out of it. Mm-hmm. And what you've been talking about, like seriously has inspired me to think, okay, yeah, like there's stories here that we got to get our act together. And because I don't want to be in my deathbed and look back and say, like, what other stories could I have told, you know?
That's where it starts. So it starts with what's the concept, with the story. Mm-hmm. Are we inspired to do something? It has to start there, right? So then what we do with it is up to us.
That reminds me of like when we were interviewing his dad for that last film, like there was a story about him like not reading.
Yeah.
Like, tell that story, because that you talk about like you're never going to do that great thing if you don't have the passion for it, you know? And his dad had a story about that. Yeah,
so dad, I mean, you know dad pretty well, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so obviously very successful, very well known in our industry, and like very like extremely sharp, smart. But when he was, and I don't know, I'm going to paraphrase exact ages and stuff here, generalize, but when he was like grade 3 or something, he couldn't read. And, his mom brought him into the psychiatrist and said, like, something wrong with my kid. And he said, okay, so took like a dad and gave him the IQ test or whatever. And dad was like off the charts. And he was like, well, he should be reading. What's he reading? Or what's he trying to read? And she said, whatever they're giving him at school. And the doctors, got dad aside and said, like, what are you interested in? And he said, I kind of like animals and hunting. Mm-hmm. And the outdoors. The outdoors. And so his mom got him, some hunting stuff to read. And I forget the name of that book. It was like,
oh, it'd be so cool to know.
Yeah, J.D. Hunter or some author.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
J. something Hunter.
Yeah. And dad read that book, like no problem.
Yeah.
And like within like
through it.
Yeah, within days he was just like reading the whole thing, and because he cared. Mm-hmm. And that that's just one moment in his life, but it changed the trajectory. Like imagine if he didn't have that experience and couldn't find what he was passionate about until way later or whatever, or it just was never an option.
Yeah.
Grew up in Manhattan, it just wasn't a thing that was he even knew about.
Right.
And it makes you wonder how many people like missed that crossroad somewhere.
Yeah.
And it might be a lot. Mm-hmm. They're sitting doing stuff that they aren't inherently passionate about, and they're average at it because they don't care.
Yeah, no, I know it's. I'm sure that happens more times than it doesn't. I mean, because I hear people say all the time, like, I don't know what I'm passionate about. I don't know, like, how'd you know that bow hunting was your thing? So it just tells me that there's a lot of people out there who don't have that thing, and maybe it's because of situations like that, or where they grew up, or their circumstance, or the family dynamics. I don't know, but yeah, I think a lot of people have not like connected the dots on like, oh, this is my thing. This is what I do.
Right. And maybe the answer lies somewhere in that discomfort zone as well, like in another way. Like so, Huberman, got all the answers, comes here, and learns that lifting a freaking giant rock up a mountain brings him some level of happiness that he wasn't able to achieve before. So, yeah, I mean, it could be true for everybody. If it's true for him, it's true for us.
Well, and maybe our films will awaken the beast.
Let's do it.
That's a good title.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. I know you got to get on the road. We were going to shoot for 130 hard out. It's 127. Pretty damn good.
Let's go.
That's just an example of how good I am at this. Just so you know.
Yeah, you are killing it.
I was around since day one, and you've gotten darn good.
Yeah, you're such a good listener. I think, like I mentioned it because we just did so many interviews with you, but like you're only as good of a storyteller as you are a listener. Mm-hmm. And that's like something I think that's overlooked, but like you're getting so good with this podcasting, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I still feel like I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for sitting down. I know we were busy and didn't really plan on this, but I think it was valuable, and I really appreciate your time. I a lot of respect for the work you do. I love working with you guys, so thank you, Branlin, Caleb. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Cam. Thank you.
All right. Keep hammering.
Someone to blame, they sent their hate, it fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough, I am the change, the few endure. Feeling like